Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Today is the 28th of May. I hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day to honor the veterans and the soldiers who have passed on. So big shout out to them. We have James Swift on, and we're going to be talking about gender conversion therapy and drag shows. If you've never been to a drag show, please believe me, you won't be disappointed. But before we do that, let me go ahead and get to some announcements here. Let me see. Let me move this window over. On the 4th of June, okay, I'm going to be talking with James. He's going to be talking about the abuse at the Hector Garza Center in San Antonio, Texas. As you can see, there's no picture, so let's leave it at that for now. On the 4th, I'll be talking with Sam. Sam went to the Pathway Family Center. On the 10th of June, I'm going to be talking with Tara. Tara went to the Happiness Hill Home for Girls in Jay, Florida. And after that, on the 19th, we were supposed to have it on yesterday, but because of some scheduling conflicts on my part, we are going to have Carissa. She went to the Victory Christian Academy. I'm sorry, Tara, the Happiness Hill was in Mississippi. Okay, my mistake. Victory Christian Academy was in Jay, Florida. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get these off there. All right. So, James, how you been, my friend?
Hanging in there. It's been day to day for a while. Had a few medical issues, but I'm getting them dealt with.
Good. Now, you were on my show before with Janine Miller.
Yes, Janine Miller.
And you were talking about Bethesda?
Bethesda,
New
right?
Bethany. New Bethany. I'm sorry, New Bethany Home for Boys. And before you do that, James Swift is a published author, award-winning author, I hear.
Yes,
right?
Next Generation Indie Book Award for my first book. Yeah.
Yes. And his first book is called Rusted Rhinestones, a memoir by Miss Fifi Frost. You want to kind of talk about that, kind of tantalize the audience?
Well, it's
James?
basically it's my life story from the earliest memories when I was 4 years old up until 2016. And I'm currently working on the next one, which is 2016 until now, because a lot has happened. But
right.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Lot to digest. Okay. And you also have one called Trans Trap.
Yes, that was my first work of fiction, and it's about how rumors in a small southern town can get out of control and ruin a whole lot of lives. So it's bad.
Ain't that the truth?
Right.
All right. So, New Bethany, you want to kind of give us a brief history before we get into the gender conversion therapy?
Okay. I grew up in the Worldwide Church of God, and of course, homosexuality was a sin. And because of my mannerisms, I was 6 years old when our pastor told my parents that I was possessed by a homosexual demon. And that just so happened at that particular time, our church was meeting with the people from New Bethany because there was a purchase of Ambassador College, which was happening in Big Sandy, Texas. And we were the closest congregation to some of the people that were looking to make the purchase. And so our churches kind of intermingled, and they visited us a lot. And that's how we got exposed to the people that ran New Bethany, and they told them that they had a program for kids like me.
The gender conversion therapy.
Yes.
And New Bethany was a roll-off affiliate, basically.
Yes.
Roll-off's cronies were running that.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, well, Big Sandy is involved, so Koloff was
Oh,
involved
yeah.
with that.
Well, that he
So
was the one that was looking to buy the college.
yeah, yeah, that didn't work. Yeah, most of
No.
the people that were involved with Big Sandy are dead now.
Well,
They,
along with my abusers.
yeah, they died a pretty horrible death. So, but gender conversion therapy, what is that? That's where. Go ahead and kind of give us a definition on gender conversion therapy.
Well, conversion therapy really kind of took wings in the 1950s, and it's it's always been an aversion therapy to where you experience pain, and then when you associate pain with the deviant feelings that you have, either same-sex attraction or dressing in drag or whatever, then the aversion therapy is supposed to kick in, and you're supposed to not be attracted to that anymore. And it doesn't work. It's been debunked, and it's a crock. And what they basically did with me, I was 15 when they sent me, and they picked me up the night of my birthday, December 2nd, 1981, and I was there for 121 days. But we weren't with the other kids. We were in a special unit, and we weren't allowed outside, and we it was constant in the background. We were in individual chain link cages, and there was constant religious rhetoric in the background, either music or sermons or whatever playing all the time. And there was a lot of physical and sexual abuse. It was hard.
So they were using electroshock therapy. They were using was I think maybe starvation.
Yes.
Um,
Also, now one of the things that we didn't talk about when I was on the haunted episode is that they would tie us down and rip off our fingernails and toenails
oh,
so that we would experience tremendous amounts of pain. And we did. When I left, when they took me home, I had no fingernails and no toenails. And they had to grow back in over time.
wow. Southern Baptists, let me tell you. Wow.
The
They also gave you electroshock therapy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, they would tape wires to certain parts of the body, and then they would have a slideshow, a projector, and we would see two butterflies or a kitten, and then they would show two guys kissing, and they would shock the crap out of it. And I can't describe it. It's everything tenses and then releases, and it's just a jolt of pain. It's only a couple of seconds, but man, does it hurt.
What I want to know is where did those Christian men get those pictures?
Well, they
You
probably
know?
got it off their kitty.
Exactly.
Yeah, they
Exactly.
probably got some stuff at home.
Yeah, that's the stuff that was under the mattress. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
then another thing with the
yeah.
sexual abuse. I mean, how are these straight Christian men sexually abusing boys? It doesn't make sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Usually, the ones that are talking about it all homosexuality all the time are usually the ones that are homosexual themselves.
Well, I've always said that the ones that were so against me would be me if they had the balls,
Yeah,
and they don't.
exactly. No, they don't. So yeah, I mean, if you look in the news today, most of these, you got a lot of teachers, pastors, counselors that are going to, getting arrested because they're diddling little kids, especially boys.
I
You know what I
have
mean?
I have a little bit of research on that if you want to hear it real quick.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so from February 2023 until May 2024, there's this organization called Who's Making News. They're not right wing, they're not left wing, they're just data. That's all it is. And as of the 25th of this month, they surpassed 10,000 cases from February of last year. Okay. Now, there was one drag queen, and there were 5 trans people so far that have been on the list. 762 are religious employed people and pastors. And this is strictly data, okay? So, but
Right.
it comes out that 71.4% were those identified as Republican and 13.1% identified as Democrat. And the statistics say that your child is 268 times more likely to be sexually abused in a religious institution than at a drag show. So that's the latest as of day before yesterday from them. And like I said, there's many charts. There are many, but this is the ones that pertain most to me and what I'm trying to get out there.
Right. But you see, a lot of these right-wing Christians, they're not going to hear that part about the 73% or, you know, Christian men or whatever, pastors. They're not going to hear that. All of a sudden they hear trans people. I told you. See, they are pedophiles.
Right. That's it. To the joy of some, but then out of 10,700, there was 6 that was one drag queen and 5 trans people.
Right. But what I'm saying is the right wing don't hear that. All they don't hear anything about conservative. They hear just, you know, trans or gay or whatever. That's what they're hearing. They got, you know, it's like they got blinders on, you know. So that's what they do. They pick apart. They only take the good parts that you know that help them in their case for saying that, you know,
and
the LGBT communities are pedophiles.
Well, of course, but then that's what they've been taught.
Right.
And a lot of that comes down to how they were taught the Bible. And then we have the Bible, which was mistranslated, and people are going, no, it's not. You can't talk about my Bible. Oh, yes, I can. It turns out that there's 2 words. The word homosexual did not appear in the Bible until 1946. And it was the translation of 2 words that now at the United Methodist Insight, which is where they get their newsletter from once, like every 2 months or whatever. And this one was published October 14th, 2019. And it was, has homosexuality always been in the Bible? No. And they went back 500 years researching, and the French and German Bibles, and in Leviticus, it always said a man should not lie with a boy or a child, not a man and a man. Until 1946, in America, we printed millions of Bibles that said homosexual. And they got called out on it. And in 1971, they changed it. But the damage was done. So the
Bible referred to them as sodomites. Or reprobates is what they
yes, the 2 original, the first word they translated into effeminate, and the second one was male, bad, and predatory. I feel so attacked, but that's how they worked it all, and then somehow came up with homosexual, which it's not. I mean, it's pedophilia. It's all against pedophilia, which is exactly what's happening. But yeah, that kind of shocked me. And there is a documentary coming out, but they're really trying to discredit the documentary. But that's why I do the research on my own, and I don't go by what they say. Well, read this. No, I'm going to go look myself and find it, and I'm going to find it in religious organizations. I'm not going to go to all the like Southern Poverty Law Center for everything. I'll get some stuff from there, but no, I'm going to do my own research.
Right. So some of those organizations are very biased. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Whether it's a religious organization or a secular organization, they're biased. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to fudge it a little bit. Now, the one you said that you were looking at is basically an unbiased, right? It's an unbiased organization that just works with data, basically. So, yeah. So there's not too many of those around. Most of them are, you know, it seems like nowadays that you're either left or you're right. You know what I mean? or far
Well,
left or far right?
I want to read both. I want to read what the right has to say. I want to read what the left has to say, and then I want to find the truth somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It's because I don't want to hate half the nation, and I don't want half the nation hating me. Okay. When it like for the whole thing, when it came down to the conversion therapy, and now the big thing is drag queens and trans people and things like that. Well, in PMC, the Pub Medical Central, which is medical journals, it says gender identity refers to a person's innermost concept of self as male, female, or on the spectrum, which is gender divergent or trans or bisexual, whatever. And then it all comes down to chromosomes and hormones, which that's way above my pay grade. It's just there's an X, there's a Y, the Y falls off, the X turns into I don't know. It's just crazy. I just ended up the way I ended up. But what I don't understand is how these people can take that and then turn it into a $1 billion industry telling kids that they're broken. I don't understand why or how that it has to be the kids' fault when we're just being kids.
Right. And some, when they get older in the preteen and teen, that, like, for instance, they think that, they look at a picture of a girl, a male does, and it doesn't do anything for him. All of a sudden, okay, I think I'm gay. But then as he gets older, 13, 14, those hormones start going.
Right.
And but then again, sometimes the person is truly gay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I was never attracted to girls.
Right. But what I'm saying is, sometimes they grow out of it. Sometimes they don't.
Well, that's why they don't just immediately start chopping up kids. There's a psychiatric process. And if you do go on the hormone blockers as a younger child until you can figure this out, and normally that doesn't happen right off the bat either, unless it's an extreme case, that all of that is reversible. It just lets the body go back to producing whatever hormone it needs to reproduce. And the only two times in my research that I've ever come across a child under the age of 15 that had any type of surgery was because they had already gender mutilated themselves, and it had to be done. So it's not like these kids are going in and they're saying, you know what, I'm trans, and the medical community doesn't say, well, you know what, here's a bunch of pills and let's schedule to cut that tallywhacker off next week. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
There's a process.
Yes. And like I identify as trans, and I would have started a transition decades ago, but health-wise, I can't do it. So I'm going to do the drag.
Right.
And for me, it's a lot of fun and all that kind of stuff. And then I have the people that they're talking about, oh, well, drag queens are predators. Honey, if I'm walking down Bourbon Street in full drag at midnight and you're there with your kid, who is at fault here? Me for going to work, or you for having your kid out at midnight on Bourbon Street? It's not a child playground.
Right. And backing off of that, or not backing off of it, but carrying on from that, I think a lot of people who have children, okay, watch the news, and of course, if they're right wing, they're going to watch Fox and some of the other ones. They see, oh, look at this. They're having drag shows in elementary schools. They can't be doing that kind of stuff.
I've done story time as a drag queen in a library with kids. Okay, just like any other job, you don't wear your Hooters outfit to the library.
Right.
You put on something conservative. You put on something colorful. You put on something fun. You dress for the part that you're going to play. And the kids love it. I always enjoyed it because reading to the kids, it was like, what if there's a little James, when I was in school, all I got was beat on and screwed. I mean, I didn't have any reference to anybody out there like me, and not even a library book, nothing. So I thought I was demon possessed. Yeah. So these kids seeing us, to me, that's a positive thing.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not. All I'm saying is that these right-wing nut jobs will edit these
Yeah.
videos and
Mhm.
oh, look at that. Oh, look, he was shaking his ass right next to that kid. Did you see that
Go to
1
the
second
beach,
blur? You
honey.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go to the beach. Oh, another one is they're like having the birthday party at Hooters, and I was like, ooh, that's not subjective at all. No. I mean, yeah. Is there a time and a place for everything? Yes. Should every kid be exposed to a drag queen? No. It do the parents have a choice whether or not their child should go to drag queen story hour? Yes.
Yes.
But don't shut down the library just because you don't want your kid to go. Just take your kid to another library
Right.
or keep them home.
And another thing, James, on the flip side, the people of the LGBT community should not be shaming the people who don't want their kids watching it and they walk, like you said, walk out of the library. You know what I mean? So, sometimes, and I'm not saying all the time, sometimes somebody says, I don't want my kid to see that. They take them out. And then for the next week or so, the community is over there saying, well, this person here is transphobic. This person here is homophobic. You know, and they just completely shame the person for, you know, that's what she wants for her kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not, and I'm, like I said, the same thing with the LGBT community. You know, if they don't want to see that, go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But don't shame them. Don't shame them.
Right. Well, I'm not going to go to a church and sit down and high drag and like try to do communion or anything. But
Sure.
the part I don't particularly like shaming anyone. And then I see people in my communities that do overstep the bounds, and I'm the first one to call them out. It's like, look, we all have to live here. We all have to get along in order for this to work. But then you look on a little bit further though, if they're standing there with a picket sign, or if it was they just went home, that's one thing. But then we have the ballot box, and then we have laws. Like and this is ridiculous to me, I'm HIV negative, and I still have to be celibate for 6 months before I can donate blood. I don't understand the archaic laws and the people that we keep electing that are like, well, we have to get the gays out of the military. We just had Memorial Day. My partner died in Iraq in 2006. Okay. I had to hide. We had to hide because it was still don't ask, don't tell. And the military would send people to bars looking for enlisted people so that they could throw them out. So back to what we were talking about, if you don't want your kid to go to a drag show, don't send them. But also you're right, don't shame the parent for not sending them, because that's just not something that they want to do.
Right.
Now, when I stopped doing drag queen story hours, when they started calling in the bomb threats and we're going to shoot everybody and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, my anxiety can't take this. There's not enough Xanax on the planet. Right. So, but you're right. Both ways. We need to not shame as well.
Right. Right. I mean, each community has their own morals, and they should respect the boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yes,
or should I say respect their morals?
Well, their boundaries, exactly. Everybody needs boundaries, but also, and this is going to be but when it comes to, like, we need to respect each other's identity. The big thing now is, well, you're delusional. Okay, you can't be a man turning into a woman. Well, Eve came from a rib. So, but okay, I'm not delusional. These people that are so judgmental, they don't know what goes on up here. They don't know the trans mind. They don't know the gay mind. All they know is, and I hate to say it, indoctrination.
Yeah.
And for all of us to get along, to make this more tolerable for everyone, is if we all just stick to facts, not the rhetoric, not, well, this is my opinion. Okay, is your opinion backed up by fact, or is it not? And like anything that I'm going to say or anything that I'm going to do, I'm going to have factual basis behind it, because I don't want to inform people wrong. And just like for 12 years, my brother and I, we delivered food to homeless kids. And they're like, well, you only gave it to the gay ones. No, we gave it to anybody. It wasn't just kids either, until the police came to me and said that we had to stop because it was against the law. Okay, you can't just go out and feed the homeless. Well, why?
Yeah.
But so, and I had friends help as well, but we have to get off of the rhetoric, and we have to get back to facts. I mean, people are dying because of rhetoric. It's got to stop.
And it's also getting violent too. I mean,
well, it's been violent for us. My first stabbing was in 1995. My last beating was in 2016. 3 guys against me because I had on a Pride T-shirt. It's always been violent for us, and
right.
And now people are like, at least I was in the age of when they took knives and not guns, and I'm terrified of guns.
But also, I've read reports where trans or gay men will beat up a straight man. You know what I mean? Not for any reason, or maybe he may have smiled at him or something, or laughed, which, it's a free country. I mean, whatever you want to do, as long as you don't touch them, you know what I mean? Or do any harm to them. But, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I have not read that. But I will definitely look into it.
Yeah. I mean, and also, whenever, let's say, the LGBT community is having their parades, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, here come the straight people to come and sit at the gate, and yell at them or call them fags or something like that. Excuse my French.
Well,
that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Just degrading them. Well, a lot of these, and I've seen it on video. You can find it on YouTube. Whether some of them will go over there and they'll just start a fight with them. You know what I mean? And beat the shit out of them. I mean, some of these trans guys don't play. I mean, some of them are pretty strong. You know what I mean? So
on more than one occasion, I've had somebody hold my wig while I got in a fight.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's all rhetoric, and you need facts to back it up as well.
Right.
Like I've seen a couple of things with a guy named Matt Wallace. He's got this thing now where it's like, well, what is a woman? He always talks to the trans community, and I've always noticed that they never, and you might be able to answer it, they never really answer it. You know what I mean? He'll say, so what is a woman, right? Mm-hmm. And the person will answer the question with a question. They'll go, well, what do you think a woman is? Well, that wasn't the question.
Well, it's a loaded question, though, because we have to think gender norms. If we think gender norms, what is a woman? A woman is a female. Okay. Right. But if a man who has dropped a Y chromosome or an X chromosome and has got the right amount of testosterone or estrogen, and the whole time of their development, when they're still in the womb, can come out and still have a woman-esque brain, but a male body. So it's impossible to answer, well, what is a woman? That's a got you question, okay? You can identify as a female and not be a female. And people are like, well, that's crazy. Well, no, it's not. The science backs it up, and the studies back it up. What doesn't back it up is that there's just two. Biologically, you can be male or female, okay? That is body parts, but it's not nervous system. It's not brain. It's not chemistry. It's not all the stuff that makes a person a person. So what is a woman? I guess if you're looking for a gender norm, a woman is biological female. But if you're looking for like a person that identifies as a woman, it's because their chemistry and their makeup, in their mind, that's how they identify, which leads me to.
Okay.
Okay, gender identity refers to a person's innermost concept of self as male or female or other non-binary, gender fluid, or other on the spectrum, and it all comes down to chromosomes and hormones. That is where we're coming from. And then the other is the old school where they're coming from. But also, this is the same old school that is going to bring up, well, they don't do it anymore, but it used to be that left-handed people were just as demonized as gay people because of what it says about left-handed people in the Bible. It's mentioned 25 times as an abomination. And red-headed people. So it's stuff that has to get worked out. The powers that be put us against each other. Okay, my sexuality, how I identify has absolutely nothing to do with anyone else's on this planet, their day-to-day life. It is my life. And
Right.
I don't want a man in the woman's restroom. Well, I personally in drag go to the men's room. Okay, and believe me, it's scary. But most of the trans people that you meet, you're not even going to know they're trans. Okay, and they're not predators. They're just going to pee.
The problem with that is you do have, that old saying, one apple spoils the barrel.
Of course it does.
You always got that one, you know what I mean? That just ruins it for everybody. Like
Well,
me, for instance.
All right.
Go ahead. Like me, for instance.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, okay, one apple spoils the tree. Well, I was raped 232 times in 17 weeks at New Bethany. I don't hate straight people. I don't hate Christians. So I know it wasn't everybody. It was just that group of pedophiles. Okay, but then as for you, go ahead.
Well, the mindset. It's the mindset. It's that mob mentality. You know what I mean? Oh, that one person, sexually assaulted a little girl in the girls' bathroom. Oh, hang him. You know what I mean? And then everybody gets involved. And that's one of the problems, I believe, of social media. You know what I mean? Because lies can be spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And before you know it, this poor guy who dresses in drag, who probably didn't do anything, is getting death threats. Is getting, stuff set on fire at his house. I don't know, whatever they do. You know what I mean? So, but me personally, like I was saying before, I've been to drag shows.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the bathroom, in the men's bathroom, when there are men in drag in there. Doesn't bother me.
Well, you're securing your sexuality.
Right. But you do have those hotheads out there.
Right.
That see that and go, what the hell is this person, this freak, doing in my bath? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. If they're in my bathroom, they need to get out. So, yeah, they're just, I don't know. What's the word? What's the word, James?
Well, it's how they were raised.
Yeah.
I mean, taught the hate. We don't hate on our own. We're taught it. So there's no cure for this except for education. One of my best friends on this planet was murdered, and just for being a drag queen. And the person that we don't know who murdered them, we will never know. But I know that still to this day, from my online presence, I get 10, 20 death threats a month. Okay, most of them I don't really consider that serious, but now I do forward the other ones to Homeland Security because I just don't know anymore. How can we hate somebody so much and know absolutely nothing about them? It's crazy to me. And the political climate right now is nuts. So I don't know. This next election is going to determine a lot about the future of this country.
Yes. But it's not to get too much into politics, but a lot of it, as far as this election is concerned, I believe, in my opinion, I don't think it has much to do about the LGBT community. I think it's more of the economy, inflation, the borders, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, that kind of stuff. The trans thing has something to do with it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the right wing conservatives are God-fearing Christians.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So they also want to repeal marriage equality, and they want to put "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" back in, and that's two things that I personally fought to overturn. But equal rights is like the meme says, it's not like pie. Giving somebody equal rights doesn't take anything else away from you. It to me, it all comes down to indoctrination.
Well, some people, and I've seen this a lot, they ask for something, right? Just for an example, the LGBT community, and if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Go ahead.
So some of them, they ask for equal rights. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's your equal rights. Okay. Now we want this. Oh, we want this. When does it stop? You know what I mean?
When it's all equal rights. When it's not just handpick this one, handpick that one. Well, you fought for this one long enough, and we won what we won through the court system, and now they've stacked the court system, so we can't do it again. If they reverse it, it's not going to come back. But okay, so we got marriage equality, great. We got gays in the military, great. Okay, that's 2 out of how many more? Even with gay marriage being legal, we still don't have equal tax representation. We still don't have equal housing. We still don't have equal job security. There's just so much that's still on the table. If we're going to say, okay, here you can have equal rights, let's make it a level playing field. But in order to do that, we also need to give women equal rights and equal pay and everything else, and universal health care and a few other things. But of course, we're the only civilized nation that can't seem to figure that out because there's too much profit in people being sick.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, there is a lot of profit in that. Let's poison the food, so get them sick. That way they can come to the hospital, and we'll give them a big old fat bill.
Yeah,
that they can't pay.
And then file for bankruptcy.
Yeah, exactly. Equal rights. That I'm not exactly sure about the marriage thing, like you were saying. You said something about the taxes. The tax. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? You pay more in taxes than a normal straight couple would? Or?
There are still tax breaks that straight couples can participate in that gay couples don't. There's still different levels of pensions that straight people can get that gay people can't, because it's not recognized in the same-sex marriage.
Okay.
It's just going to take time.
The thing is, though, you got all those fat cats up in Washington who are only lining their own pockets.
And the scary part of that is a lot of them are closeted gays. They hate their own community because they're self-hating gays. Oh my God, I cannot believe. And then they're in the back room with one of their aides. And I'm like, I really think that a lot more of this needs to be exposed, because I don't think it would be as bad if we did not have the gay hating gays in Congress and the House and everybody else. I mean, it just burns me up.
Yeah. Like I said, as long as they're lining their own pockets, whoever gives them the money is who they're going to go for.
Right.
It's like you got the rhinos in Washington, the Republican in name only, and the Dems too.
Oh, the Dems definitely. I couldn't get out of that party fast enough when I turned independent. I was over it. But now the whole thing about both parties are the same. In a lot of ways they are. in a lot of ways, they're not. Um, we used to have to fight both parties to get something done or something heard. Now we have to fight the right more than we have to fight the left. But not to say that the left won't switch like that, because they have in the past.
Yeah, definitely. So, but as far as I think what it is a lot of these right wingers are, like I said, watching they're watching their Fox News. They're not watching CNN or MSNBC. That's for sure.
No, and that
know?
confuses me too, because Fox just had to pay a $700 million fine for lying to the American public. Well, they paid it out of court so they would not have to admit that they were lying to the American public.
Right.
So and there's no accountability. Until there's accountability, nothing's gonna change. And I'm tired. I'm 57 years old, and I've been doing this since I was 15. I'm tired.
Do you see any gold at the end of the rainbow?
Leaving
Basically?
the country. Leaving the country. Yeah, giving up my citizenship. I see that in the future. Yeah.
There are places, getting back to the Costa Rica. Get you one of those.
They codified all gay rights in 2000. They codified all women's rights at the same time. So they say it was a third world country. Well, not much different than where we're at now. It's just that I would not have to look over my back all the time.
I could just see you there on the beach with a mojito in your hand, with the cabana boy. The cabana boy fanning you with the palm leaf.
No.
No?
I don't need a cabana boy. I need like the silver daddy. I need the older gentleman.
the ones that got money. There you go.
Well, it don't hurt.
Right?
Right. It doesn't hurt. But I want to be, I don't want to fight these fights anymore. I have testified before Congress. I have helped with SB 605. I have helped write legislation. And it's just, even with the Paris Hilton bill that's out now, I mean, it's been gutted. It's gutted. Now, God love them for trying and just keep on doing, but it's just going to be pomp and circumstance, because all the stuff in it about juvenile conversion therapy and everything else has been ripped out. But that's every single bill that's ever tried to do anything about it. I hope that eventually, it won't be in my lifetime, it won't be, but I hope eventually people can realize that just because someone is different, it doesn't make them bad. I grew up thinking that I was possessed, that I was horrible, and that I was just this person that needed to die. And I tried to kill myself a couple of times, and unsuccessfully thus. But I look back at it all now, and it's just like, why? Why did we have to do that to that little boy? Why couldn't he just play with Barbie dolls and figure it out for himself? Why couldn't he just have a supportive home and do his thing and see what happened? But when I finally accepted who I was already a raging alcoholic. I didn't realize it at the time, but I drank to function, and I drank because it shut up the stuff that was in my head. And it took me years to stop. And then all the therapy I've been through and all the self-medicating that so many people do because they can't live up to this societal standard or this norm that is put in place. And we're losing people. And it just stop. Okay. You see me walking down the street in a Pride t-shirt. Fine. Yeah. I see you walking down the street and you've got on Jesus Loves You. You know what? Great. Wear it. Do it. But don't tell me that I don't have the right to do the exact same thing.
Right.
And you don't see us targeting Christians. You might in the ballot box, though, because that's going to be the next initiative is that we need to criminalize some of the stuff that's happening in the pulpit when they preach hellfire and brimstone and they say that we are deaf and abominations and we're a threat and we are pedophiles and all that, and they're saying it outright. And that's hate speech, that's incitement, and that's against the law. And in other countries, they've adapted it, and the hate crimes have gone down tremendously. So I'm hoping that we can do something about that here.
Well, hopefully the politicians would quit dragging their freaking heels.
Well, we need to elect the people that are going to do something. But then as soon as we elect someone, and I know it's like, oh my God, this is a good one. This is a good one. 1 year later, it only takes 1 year, and they're as crooked as the rest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, term limits. We need term limits.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a couple here in Louisiana that have been in there way too long. They need to go out to pasture, honey. No, it's time to bring in somebody else.
Yeah. They need to have term limits for Congress. They need to have term limits for the Senate.
Well, we like our term limits here for governor and all that kind of stuff, which John Bell was a pretty popular governor, but not with the Republicans, but he was with the Democrats. But I didn't like him. And of course, here I am when it's time to vote. They're like, well, you got to vote Democrat. And I was like, no, I don't. Bye. But the thing is that they make all the promises on the campaign trail, and I've heard it enough. Now, I used to believe it. When I was younger, I was like, oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do this. And the next thing I know, I've got a fifth of Jim Beam. And I'm like, he didn't do it. Yeah, right. Okay. Now I hear them and I know what's realistic. And they're like, well, we're going to do this and this and this. And I was like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
No, you're talking to an old drag queen here. You ain't doing crap. So I do listen. I try to keep up with everything. And we've really got some humdingers right now. I'm like, oh, okay. Make it think.
Yeah. Yes, it does. There are some, getting back to the gender conversion therapy for a minute. There's a lot of organizations out there, well, not a lot, but there are some that are not Christian based.
Oh, yeah.
For example, you got a place called GenSpect.
Mm-hmm.
It was founded by psychotherapist Stella O'Malley.
Mm-hmm.
And she is against gender therapy.
Right.
Or she's against the banning of gender therapy, conversion therapy. So,
well, then she needs to experience it. All these people that think that we need to keep these practices in place, they need to experience it, and they need to experience it the way that it's actually done. They need the electroshock. They need to eat the cow food like we did, and they need to pee and poop in a coffee can, and they need to be hosed down, and they need to be deloused, and they need to be starved, and they need to be cold, and they need to be sleep deprived, and then we'll see how they like it.
That'll never happen, James. I'm sorry.
I know. And the people that they get so involved in this, and they have no idea what they're talking about. One of the projects that I'm working on now, I pitched to the 3 networks that I've worked with, is how the people from the TTI and juvenile conversion therapy and these troubled teen places have been treated by the medical community. And I got a pretty good solid hit from one of the networks. And they've asked for a lot of research, and I'll put it on social media. I'm going to get with some of the other survivors, and I'm going to get with you as well, because we could be treated better than we're treated, especially by the medical community.
Right. What about, I'm sorry?
Well, for the lady, she's like, I want to keep the conversion therapy in place. Well, could it be because now back in 1981, my parents paid $25,000 for 17 weeks. And yes, I used to have the canceled check, but could it be because it's such a moneymaker? You know, oh my goodness, I had all these kids and I didn't realize that I had a life as well, and I need to send them off somewhere because they're not behaving the way I want them to. And I threw the Bible at them, but they're not doing it. So let's just send them someplace what they will. Okay, so there's money involved. When you're making money, they tend to look the other way. Be a parent.
Yeah. Thing is,
Okay.
being that there was a roll-off affiliate, can you turn your speakers down a little bit? I'm getting kind of an echo from you there. There we go.
How's that?
That's better.
Okay.
Knowing there was a roll-off affiliate at home, I remember, I don't know why I know this, maybe listening to too many roll-off tapes. He said that we do this and we have no charge. It's free. You know, the Lord will provide. That was a bunch of bullshit from the beginning.
And that, and every child was signed up for welfare and food stamps and everything else. They got tons of money from the government even back then, before the Religious Freedom Act was signed.
Yep.
So no, it wasn't free. My parents gave them money, so it wasn't free. No.
Right. And you know, the reason why roll-off got harassed by the state about getting a license for these homes was his own mistake. What happened was he signed up for a 501c3. That was his downfall right there.
Right. That was his Hoffa moment. And then they were like, "Wait, how much money are you making?"
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep. Man, I'm sure he regretted that quite a bit. But it's too bad that he can't be held accountable for the mess that he's made, you know, throughout the decades.
I often wondered if I could ever confront him, or if I ever saw him, what I would do. And in all honesty, with the amount of rage I've got inside of me, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know. And then after I found out that he was dead, well, all of them. I mean, all of them. And when I found out they had all died, and I was in a therapy session, and my doctor asked me, she said, "Well, how do you feel about that?" And I said, "I want to feel bad because people died, but I feel joy." And she was like, "That's totally normal." And I was like, "Well, that's why you're my doctor."
You know, that's the way a lot of women that have been beaten by their husbands or now ex-husbands, when they die, is like, okay, so,
right.
You know what I mean? Trauma tends to do that to people.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it goes. He's, I believe that when he died, if there is a hell, I believe he's in it.
Well, I would hope so, if there was one, which it took me a long time to switch from my beliefs. When I tried to remain Christian, I tried, but then the more I studied the Bible, like, and there's just certain things, and I was like, you know, I just can't follow this anymore. And I mean, I'm 57, and polypeptides, CeraVe, collagen, drinking it every day. Noah was 600 when he built the ark. I'm not gonna make it. Okay, I'm gonna fall apart before then.
Well, like I said, with the Bible being used constantly as a weapon against the homosexual community or the LGBT community, you're never going to catch a fair break with them.
No.
You never will.
Well, I'm afraid that what's going to happen next, and this is me speculating now, I don't know this, but I'm afraid what's going to happen next is we're just going to have a whole lot more violence. I believe that it's about to really escalate. And my friend and I, we are walking in the Pride Parade very soon. And I haven't walked in Janine and I went to Pride in Vegas, but that's different, I think, than being back here in Louisiana. There's a little bit more of the uncomfortable stares and things like that here. In Vegas, most everybody was just drunk.
Well, Louisiana is a red state.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And so we're walking in the Pride Parade, and then I want to say this. 2 weeks ago, I had a message from one of the people that I've met on this journey since we exposed New Bethany and all that kind of stuff, and they were contemplating ending their own life. And when somebody calls, I volunteered with the suicide hotline for several years, and then I got to where I just couldn't take it anymore. But when somebody calls and they're that desperate and they're like, I know you're busy, but can I say something? I was like, I will sit here all night with you. Whatever you need, we're going to do it right now. Okay. And I'm not going to put you off or whatever. But if somebody is hurting, or if you know that someone is struggling, and in this political climate and everything else, and with all the stuff and the baggage, and then add the TTI on top of that and all that, just listen to them, y'all. Okay, this person, they just needed to cry. They needed somebody to say, you know what? Yeah, I felt that. But a lot of people, I was very lucky that it took me 4 therapists to find the one that I have now, but she specializes in religious trauma, and she has her doctorate. So she's amazing, and she's helped me a lot. So the other survivors, they get so low at times, which I've been there. But it seems like in the survivor community, so many of us don't reach out to the other survivors, or they judge them, or they say harsh things about them. And we've got to stop that, because we're all we have. Believe me, I know this 100%. I mean, like you and your show, amazing, the things that you've done. And Janine, she's reached out to so many people, and she's done amazing with her show, Pieces of Victory. I'll get that in there. Right. And then we're this little group that a lot of bad things happen to. So let's quit doing bad things to each other. Okay, if someone wants to talk, or if someone has something to say, just listen. You don't have to shut them down and chew them up and spit them out. We got to get along. Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Well, is there anything else you want to discuss on the topics?
Okay.
James?
Let me double check everything here. Okay, let me clear one last thing here. Okay, sure. And then when we ended the last one, we were talking about when homosexuality was declared a mental disorder, and I screwed up on the date because I was thinking about when we used it in court. Okay, it became a disorder in 1952. The DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, is okay. 1952. It was removed in 1973, but it took until 1987 for it to be removed from the teaching materials. Okay, and then the World Health Organization followed in 1992. Okay, they got the idea that it was a mental disorder, and this is from Yale News, October 31st, 2013. It says, DSM followed in a long tradition in medicine and psychiatry, in which in the 19th century appropriated homosexuality and promoted it from a sin to a mental disorder. They've done it with several other things as well, which I need to look that up because I don't know exactly what it was. But I mean, I guess adultery and a few other things where like a serial adulterer or whatever. But okay, so now it's not a mental disorder. And then like on my comments online, I'm getting this stuff, well, I'm not going to support your delusion. Okay, to me, it's not a delusion. But of course, anybody would say that. Well, here's one little fun fact that is just going to piss everybody off. Okay, so there was a study that was done. Okay, this is from PubMed Central, October through December 2017, and it's a study that was done, and they researched schizophrenics. Okay, they had these people that were in the mental institutions, and they were hearing voices and hallucinating and talking to God. So out of the 1,000 participants, 99% of them identified as Christian. And so I'm like, I have a disorder. Okay. Anyway, that's my fun little fact.
Well, I think the thing with the trans community, they call it gender dysphoria.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria to even contemplate going to the next step. And like I said, I would have started that journey. It's just that my heart won't let me. I couldn't do it. So I'm not like, oh well, whatever. I mean, I can still do drag, and people like, what are your pronouns? Well, usually it's dumbass and asshole. Because I'm not that hung up on that kind of stuff. And I've had people correct me. It's like, well, that's not my pronoun. And I was like, that's not my problem. So, I'm sorry.
That's one thing that really gets the trans community upset, is those pronouns. I mean,
yeah.
I think what's pissing everybody off about that is the fact that they want to try and legislate it, where they're going to make it a crime to not, call people by their correct pronouns. I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Well, I'll be one of the first ones to go to jail because, honey, if you ain't shaving your legs, I ain't calling you a woman.
I mean,
we have to stop. It's right. Too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So somebody misgendered you. Oh my God. Well, what happened? Well, nothing. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Made you feel bad for a minute? Well, honey, welcome to life. It's not easy. Nobody ever said it was going to be. It's not going to be. Get over it. And I know I'm going to piss people off with that, but I'm sorry. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. I mean, and I think sometimes their attempt to change the language, for instance, I am a heterosexual man, okay? I'm not cisgender. I'm a man. Right. Don't call me cisgender. And I'm not going to say it to you angrily. I'm not going to say, don't call me that. I'm just going to say, please, I'm a man. Don't call me cisgender.
You know what you say?
What?
That's not how I identify. Put it right back on them. That's what I do. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, those are words, sticks and stones. Well, of course, words can hurt. I've experienced some pretty hateful speech in my lifetime, but
right.
I mean, but if there's not a fight there, don't make it one. And I never understood the cis thing anyway. I know this is some clinical thing to it years and years ago and all that kind of stuff, and people wanting to, bring this in and make it clinical and all that kind of stuff. I'm just a 57-year-old drag queen. You can call me anything you want to call me. Okay, I'll answer the half of it. And the other half, I probably won't hear you anyway because I have constant ringing in my ears from my medication. So, I mean, it's so what? Okay, and the whole thing is, once you tell them once, okay, you know what? I don't like that. You don't call me. I am a heterosexual male. I don't identify that way. Then if they don't get the irony, then don't waste your breath on them.
I think they need to learn to pick their battles. And
oh God, my communities have never been able to pick their battles. I mean, it's just like we fight them ourselves. The whole thing with the rainbow flag, which I remember when it first came out, and it was a lifesaver for us because we could see that tiny little rainbow sticker, and I'm like, I'm safe there. And now, well, I'm not represented. Well, it's just the primary colors. How are you not represented? Mix them. You can get whatever you want. Well, I'm not represented. I don't feel represented. I don't care. I don't care. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
That's right. They have to. What I mean by pick their battles, pick the more important issues. Pronouns.
Yeah, that's what we had to do when it came to the gays in the military and marriage equality. All that other stuff, we just had to put it to the side. I mean,
yeah.
Do the main things, and then like I said, it won't happen in my lifetime. And I know I'm pissing off every gay and trans person out there, but they haven't walked in my shoes. They don't know what I've been through. And they can at least respect the fact that I have been fighting for them my entire life. So
Yeah,
lighten up, people. Lighten up.
definitely. On that note, James, thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's been great.
Yes. I consider
And I
you.
will be watching. I really am interested in the next couple of ones of your podcast too, because those are going to be good.
Right. Like I said, I consider you a friend of mine.
Same here.
That's okay. And
Yes.
you know, before you go, I'm gonna, so to speak, pimp out your books again. We have Rusted Rhinestones, a memoir by Miss Fifi Frost. Check it out. The link is in the description below. And also Trans Trap by Fifi Frost. Where, before you go, James, how did you come up with the name Fifi Frost? Is that a story all in itself?
Yes, it is, and it's in the book. But
Okay.
I will just say that in my day, we didn't just like now their drag mother names them. Okay, well, my drag mother was Mother Bob, so we had to have a backstory. Okay, and so Fifi Frost was the illegitimate daughter of Jack Frost and Mrs. Claus because Santa only comes once a year. And so that was my icebreaker when I got out on stage, and then the show would go on. And I did a lot of comedy, and I sang and I danced and fell off stage a few times, and just it was just a lot of fun. Back when I was younger. Now like today, if I do drag now, it's just like I need like those airbags if I fall to keep me from breaking something, because I don't know if I'll recover. And I like the really high heels, so I need like one of those walkers with the wheels on it with a handbrake and an airbag.
And the tennis balls on the front.
Yeah.
All right, James. Like I said, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Maybe we can find some others. Maybe we can find some other subjects that we can talk about.
Well, I'll keep you informed about the thing with the network and other survivors that I'm going to be talking with, and maybe we can do something with that.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, James. You take care of yourself.
All right.
All right. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I want to thank James once again for coming on and talking about his life as a drag queen and with the LGBT community. And like I said, if anybody feels offended, don't be. These stories have to be told, and if it offends, well, that's how people. That's all about debating. Getting ideas out there. That's all it is. All right. So, before I leave, on the, I believe, let me make sure for the people that are on the 3rd of June, I'm having a man named James on. He will be talking about the abuse at the Hector Garza Center in San Antonio, Texas. On the 4th, I'm going to be having a discussion with Sam. He went to the Pathway Family Center. And on the 10th of June, I have Miss Tara coming on. I believe it is Tara. She went to the Happiness Hill Home for Girls. And on the 19th, which is a holiday, Juneteenth, I think is what they call it, due to scheduling conflict, which was my fault, Carissa will be coming back on for part 2 for the she went to the Victory Christian Academy for girls in Jay, Florida, I believe. So stay tuned for that. Hit the notify on those videos. That way, when it comes on, you can be notified about it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and also like the video to get this video to travel around, basically, so everyone can see it. Okay. So for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. You take care of yourself. You take care of each other, and we'll see you on the 3rd. All right, with James. You have a great evening.